Hello, everybody, and welcome into Texas Live number 80. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We really appreciate you guys being here. As always, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central every Monday, and we're going to jump right into it. So Texas obviously beats Texas A&M on Black Friday, 27-17, 10-plus points. We've beaten both rivals by 10-plus points, so that's always good. Gerald, let's jump into this recap, and let's start out with this. What was the most surprising thing? That's how I'll phrase this. Most surprising thing that happened Friday night to you?
Yeah, Texas's success running the ball was the big surprise to me. They hadn't been able to do it all year, and especially against a defense like Texas A&M that we thought had a really good run defense. Texas being able to do what they did at the point of attack, some of it was misdirection, some of it was. Them doing some things to disguise what they were going to do in the backfield, but ultimately Texas was just beating them at the point of attack. Trevor Gooseby rightfully was named SEC co-offensive lineman of the week for the job he did against Cassius Howell, who was one of the best edges, not just in the conference, but in the country. Texas was really able to push them around. Contravian Wisner, 155 yards. Like, if he was at 100%, I think that number is probably even higher because he had some runs that probably could have broken away, but he looked even a step slower than he normally looks out there. So some of that was even had a lid on it because of neither of these running backs, I think, is even close to 100% healthy. But still, Texas was able to get that done. They needed Arch's legs and they used Arch's legs, but being able to get a running back going in a way that they hadn't all year. First 100-yard rusher of the year, really just getting the job done at the point of attack was a huge surprise for me.
Yeah, I think that's surprise number one. Surprise number two is I thought the pass protection overall held up very well. Like you said, Cassius Howell second in the country in sacks. David Bailey's the only one higher of him of Texas Tech. So I think that was pretty, obviously super crucial in the game and a very big surprise overall that you kept Cassius Howell off the stat sheet for the most part. And then Brandon Baker did a good job on the other side as well. The interior did struggle at times with David Onyema, DJ Hicks, those guys, but those are really good players, and they've struggled the whole year, the interior has. So I thought they did an overall good job in this game of keeping Arch Manning clean. Obviously, there's 2 to 3 plays where he did a really good job of keeping himself clean by moving up in the pocket, moving out of the pocket, taking off when he needed to, which I liked. I saw him do that a lot more in this game than normally, which I also liked and was a little bit of a surprise, but I think you hit on the biggest one. Like, the run game has been AWOL the whole year, guys. This is a run game in which we hadn't had a 100-yard back the whole year. We finally broke that the last game of the season. So I completely agree. That is the biggest surprise on the offensive side of the ball and as on the team as a whole. On the defensive side of the ball, I think it was Ethan Burke. Like, Ethan Burke's been a good football player for us this whole year, but like you said, talking about Trevor Gooseby, offensive lineman of the week, he was the defensive player of the week because he had a phenomenal game. 8 tackles, 1 sack. Was all over, blocked the field goal. It was a low kick, but he still had to get in there. He blew through a double team and fell down, blocked it. Really good job by him. So, we kind of lost Barron Sorrell last year, and he was, in my opinion, one of the most underrated players of the Sark era. And then you're going to lose Ethan Burke, who's very similar. So it's going to be interesting how they deal with that next year. But I thought Ethan Burke was another good surprise for Texas on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and Ethan Burke is a guy who has been quietly one of the better defensive players on the team all year. He's kind of like that dirty work guy. I talk about these guys all the time on the defensive line. Like, Colin Simmons is incredible, and he's the flashy, does all of the sacks and all that crazy stuff. Like, Ethan Burke is the guy who's like, I'm going to set the edge. I'm going to keep my outside arm free. I'm going to be a run stuffer. Like, that's what Ethan Burke brings to the table. And it's great that this was probably his last, at least regular season home game. And he played out, he balled out like that. And he got his first ever SEC Player of the Week award because of it. Like, very well deserved. That's a guy that I think, another guy, much like Barron Sorrell last year, Texas fans, I think, are underrating the impact that Barron Sorrell is having on this defense. I don't know if it was surprising, but I think Jelani McDonald kind of showing up and showing out in that game was a pretty big good. It was a good sign for me. We're really, Texas is in a situation where they're going to need some guys to step up in that secondary, especially because, the guy after Manny Muhammad is usually the one that gets picked on this defense. And so seeing a guy like Jelani McDonald step up and really make himself known, especially coming downhill and playing and helping in run support, was massive. And it's why Marcel Reed wasn't able to use his legs as well. It's why Ruben Owens wasn't able to run away and kind of create the space that he does. Like Jelani McDonald was a really, really big piece of this defense on Saturday. And same thing goes, we talked about a post game, but like it feels like Kobe Black maybe saved his Texas career on Saturday or on Friday.
Yeah.
Like he was a guy who a lot of folks were ready to kind of cut bait on. And not only did he have the kind of the game sealing interception, but he also like just played really well. Like you normally see Kobe Black and you're frustrated. That's usually when you're calling his name, and there wasn't any of that on Friday.
No, I think that's another thing I was going to hit on too, which is the second cornerback position held up.
Yeah,
we started Cade Phillips in the game. He went out hurt, and you saw a rotation of Jalen Gilbo, Kobe Black, Warren Roberson, and Wardell Mack play that position. And they all did a pretty good job. Like, I wasn't angry because I didn't see any missed tackles out there that led to a really big play from Mario Craver or Casey Concepcion, two of the most explosive wide receivers in the sport. Probably one of the 2 to 3 best tandems in the sport, and they did a really good job of bottling them up and keeping them out of the end zone. So really good job by them. It's going to be interesting because that is, one of the positions we put as a need last week, Gerald, on portal needs was the cornerback position. And we saw multiple guys step up in this game that are going to be back for Texas next year. And, maybe they are the ones that fill that need. I think Cade Phillips definitely will be one. I'm pretty confident that he's played very well when he has played the last 2-3 games. Kobe Black finally, looked good out there. It's been a while, but he has the tools. He was an upper 4-star recruit for a reason. He's a good football player. He just has to put it all together and play more consistent. So I hope that is the case going into next year. Because we definitely need someone to stick out there. And then, at the safety position, I thought Jelani McDonald played well. I thought on limited snaps, Jonah Williams played pretty well. Michael Taft finally looked like his normal self. That was something that we desperately needed because he did not look good the last 2 games, guys, versus Arkansas and Georgia. That was a big reason why the Georgia game turned out the way it did. He looked lost on the back end. He was the worst graded player according to Pro Football Focus. He was very good in the Texas A&M game. He looked like he was finally back to his normal self.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted out that I was ready to forgive him for the last couple of weeks because of how well he played. Maybe not the Georgia game, but definitely last week because Texas won, I guess, 2 weeks ago. But maybe not the Georgia game. He was real bad in Georgia. But yeah, I mean, the younger guys finally starting to step up and step into these roles is going to be big. And Ty Anthony Smith coming back in this game and really looking good. And I think a big reason why Texas was able to bottle up A&M's run game in the second half, there was a big difference in what they were able to do with Ty Anthony Smith off the field and on the field, right? We saw their offense kind of sputter with Ty Anthony Smith stepping in over a Trey Moore or whoever the other linebacker was. And so I think at the deeper levels, I was concerned. And so I think Texas being without it, when we found out that Ant Hill was not going to be playing in this game, I was like, oh, this is going to be very bad for Texas. And, the credit to the guys who were able to hold the line until Ty Anthony Smith came in, and the credit to Ty Anthony Smith for kind of setting the tone for the defense at that second level.
100%. And I think that's going to do it for a Texas A&M recap. I don't really have anything else to say. Gerald, are you good with that?
Sucks to be a little brother.
And Oklahoma. We beat both the rivals, so that's always good. And we got, this is a milestone, I think, on the channel for the most part. I have gotten a super chat before, but I've never really gotten a question. There's been insults thrown on here once in a while between trolls that will send super chats. Hey, they pay the same, but this one is actual question, so we will definitely take it. We really appreciate Texas 2005. If we don't make the college football playoff, who opts out of the bowl game other than Anthony Hill? I honestly don't know if he would opt out. That's the thing, too. It all depends, guys. Like, we saw teams in the past. My number one thing is Alabama. Alabama had really good culture. Mm-hmm. Guess what they did when they went in the Sugar Bowl and they had Bryce Young and Will Anderson? Both those guys played, and they went and blew out Kansas State. So I think that's to every player. And does Anthony Hill want his last game to be a game in which they lost and he got injured? And I think that does matter to some guys. So I can't answer even that if Anthony Hill's not going to play. I would assume, like, if you're making me put a percentage on it, he's 75% out of a bowl game. But I'm not going to say it's 100. There's definitely a 20 to 30% chance Anthony Hill plays in the bowl game. Gerald, I'll let you pick up this question as well. Do you believe he hops out? And then what other guys you could see opting out?
Yeah, I think he's probably one of the most likely ones. But again, I think the thing that you said was he takes pride in what he does on the field, and he takes pride, I think, in being a Texas Longhorn. And so, him being able to go out might speak to him. Again, I hope there are guys that are maybe, again, selfishly, I want Anthony Hill to play. I want Anthony Hill to come back next year selfishly. But also, when you think about the good that it does for you, the university, being able to say Texas had one of the top 5 defenders in the NFL draft taken off the board, there's also that. I think Manny Muhammad is another guy that we probably have to watch for an opt-out in that game. He's another one of those surefire guys that's probably gone after this year. Outside of them, I don't see a ton of folks. I don't see really anybody on the offensive side, maybe Gooseby, depending on what his early draft grades come back. He's, again, getting a ton of shine again because he did shut down Cassius Howell in this game. So he's another one that I think would keep an eye on, but those are probably the top 3 guys that I would say. Of the other guys that are going to go to the draft, Taft's not going to sit out. And he's probably the only other guy that's going to get a ton of NFL draft buzz in this group. So he's probably those 3. And then again, maybe or those 2. And then Trevor Gooseby at a distant third, I would say.
Yeah, I think from all the early indications, Trevor Gooseby is going to be back because right now I think he's probably like a mid-second round pick, which I think next year just get 10% better, and with more tape, you'll be a first round pick. So I think he comes back. And Malik Muhammad, I was going to say that I think he's number 1 of sitting out. Guys, I'm going to be straight up. That dude's a mercenary. There's a reason why the last 2 years his name's kind of been floated out of. And he may transfer. So I do if I'm betting on anyone to sit out, he's my number 1. Anthony Hill, I don't know. I truly think he might play in the bowl game, especially if it's versus a good competition. The names floated out right now, it's Michigan, Miami. Those can help your draft stock, guys. You're going against other possible NFL players. If you're playing another BS school, it's like if we play Virginia, if they lose the ACC championship game, that's who we play. No offense, Virginia. They don't have anyone that you're like, I can go against him, make myself look better. Miami and Michigan do have some guys hey, versus this guy, this was good tape. You looked pretty good. That can help you out. So I agree. And this is a young football team. So you're not going to have anyone from the offensive line opt out most likely unless Gooseby goes pro, which I don't think he's going to. Wouldn't make sense for DJ Campbell because, again, you can put on good tape versus a good defensive line, and he can actually help himself because he's probably only a 4th or 5th round pick anyways right now. Wide receivers, there's no one that's good that's going to go to the NFL. If DeAndre Moore decided, he's probably getting drafted in the 6th, 7th round. Defensively, otherwise, Ethan Burke's like a 3rd or 4th round pick, and he loves Texas. He's going to play in this bowl game. So there's going to be very little opt-outs. At most, you're going to have 3 opt-outs out of this bowl game of guys that are meaningful impact players for Texas.
Yeah, you're going to see guys that jump into the portal, and that you obviously have that to contend with. But and that's something to watch. I think the running back room specifically is something that could get a little weird depending on who decides to jump in the portal. I think you and I have said maybe CJ Baxter is a guy that needs to find a fresh start. Some of the guys that are stacked up behind him with young talent coming in the 2026 class. So you could also see that. That's also something to contend with just based on the very stupid college football calendar currently. I don't know about Jelani.
I don't think he's a high enough draft pick to opt out.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think he's what, a 3rd, 4th round pick?
I would say, that was where my mind went. He's not a first 2 day. I would say he's probably, if I'm betting on which day he's going to go, I'd go day 3. It probably has the best odds over day 2 and day 1.
Yeah, I agree. I think he would probably go somewhere between the 3rd and 5th round. I don't know. And that's the thing, will he go pro for that? Because why not come back and then, get a little, he needs to gain a little bit of weight, in my opinion, and then just learn the position a little bit more. And I think he'd be a really good player and a versatile player. He could play more inside or outside if he just gets better at covering people. So I think he should come back personally. And honestly, with NIL and what we've seen, there's really only been one guy we've questioned, Gerald, of why did you leave for the NFL draft early the last couple of years? And that was Cam Williams. Everyone else that was teetering came back and played. Yeah.
The surefire guys are the ones you have to look at. Again, Anthony Hill, 1st rounder, Manny Muhammad, probably 1st or 2nd rounder. And again, and this is no shot at him, right? He's been a guy who's been trying to find what his next step is for 2 years. After having a big freshman year, he started, folks started chopping him around, and that's just kind of how he lives his life at this point. That's again, that's just the nature of the game, and that's the kid. And folks can quibble and feel any kind of way they want to about it, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast. And then Goosby's a guy who, again, has been getting a ton of buzz, but I think you and I have both been very vocal about the fact that I think he needs another year. He probably needs some more tape, and even if he decides to forego the final season, I think playing again in a premier bowl game and going up against, Michigan's front has some dudes on it, right? Like Miami's front has some dudes on it. And if you can go out on back-to-back, like I shut down Cassius Howell and one of the edges at Michigan, or one of the edges at
Miami.
Exactly, right? You can really do yourself a lot of good.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan has Derek Moore, who's going to be a top 3 round draft pick, and Reuben Baines has potential to be the number 1 draft pick in the whole class. Yeah. So if you play them, that's who you could be going against in that game. And Reuben Bain, honestly, that may make him want to play in that game too. Hey, I get to go against Trevor Goosby, a top 50 player in next year's draft. Like, these guys look at more of those sort of things than like, hey, we really want to win this game. Is, hey, I get to match up versus someone that makes me look better long-term for the NFL draft. So to me, July, that's the thing. You got to weigh the risk and rewards. To me, there's too much upside for Jelani playing in the game to where he does, like, if he sits out, what is the upside there that, I'm going to get drafted in the 4th round? I just don't see enough upside for him to be able to sit out of a bowl game. That's just me.
Yeah, and Jelani didn't even enter like my mind as somebody who wouldn't be around next year. And those are the guys who you always look at first for opting out. Like it felt like a foregone conclusion to me that Jelani would be back next year. He's going to be the dude back there next year. I think it is his room to run, and so I think it's very much going to be, again, when I'm thinking about opt outs, it's the guys who are going to leave early, the guys who are going to have to protect high draft stock, and there's really only 3 of those guys on the team right now.
Yeah, and this is a really good safety class, obviously, headlined by Caleb Downs. And safety, let's be honest here, Caleb Downs is still going to get drafted like somewhere between the 10th and 15th pick, most likely, because he's a safety. Safety isn't one of those premium positions where people are like, yeah, we got to go get us a great safety out there. This isn't corner. So that's why Jelani, in my opinion, should come back. We'll see what he does. But if I was advising him, if he's not getting a 1st or 2nd round grade, in my opinion, you should be coming back.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Let's move on. Kind of fits. Where must Texas improve next year? Like, and this can be a very broad question. You can go scheme, you can go penalties, you can go players. Where would you like to start with this, Jared? Where do you think Texas needs to improve next year?
Yeah, I think the old adage is, it's so much Jimmy's and Joe's and not X's and O's. And so I think that's like the first spot that I really focused on. Like, I think Texas has a couple of glaring holes in the roster that they came into the year with. And no matter any level of coaching you do, if you have a guy that doesn't fit your scheme, it's not going to work for you. And one of the issues Texas saw this year was, especially along the offensive line, they've got guys that cannot move. They've got guys with slow feet. I was texting, I think I was texting you guys you and the other hosts over the weekend watching the A&M game, that like, it looks physically painful for some of these guys to pull. Like, it looks like it just hurts them to run. And that, to me, in this scheme, like, you need to be able to move your feet as an offensive lineman. And so I think Texas specifically roster construction is not great and not where it needs to be, I think, for this to be a championship level team. And I think interior offensive line is one of those spots. We talked about quarterbacks a ton. And I think we also need to look at, like, who's going to be the alpha dog in the wide receiver room? Does Texas need to add another running back? Does Texas need to add another linebacker? And maybe that comes down to, maybe the improvement they need to do is like self-scouting and self-awareness. They need to really be able to sit back and say, here's where our roster is at really, and here's where we need to improve, right? Again, we've been giving them a lot of benefit of the doubt on these things because of how good they've been thus far. But this year kind of proves that maybe there is a bit of a blind spot. So I think improving in that self-scouting, improving in their ability to honestly look at the roster, identify where are the gaps, and not buy their own brand in some ways to really be a team that's going to take it to the next level, because we saw that they have these deficiencies that are going to continue to bite them if they don't fix them.
Yeah, so number one for me, you kind of hit on it a little bit, is figure out what scheme you actually want to run. That's something to me. Like, I know he wants to run 12 personnel, obviously, but that's not a scheme. What kind of running scheme does this team want to be?
Yeah.
I still don't know the answer to that. We've tried outside zone. That was kind of the thing the first couple of years. And we tried inside and outside zone. This year we wanted to go more gap scheme. And then we went back to outside zone because it works. Yeah, it only works versus some competition. Like we said, when we were pulling guards versus Georgia guys, it didn't work because they had aliens running across our face and they were just blowing up the play or causing holding penalties. So I think that's the number one thing. Steve Sarkisian needs to sit down and just tell himself, what do I want our run game to be? Do I want to be a specifically outside zone team or do I want to be a power team? And don't say you want to be both because you're not going to find offensive linemen most likely that can do all of it. Figure out what you want to do and get very, very good at it. I mean, elite at it. And that's something I haven't liked about Sark's schemes. We've been doing so many things instead of concentrating on one thing. So when you go in the portal and you go and get these interior offensive linemen, do you want these bigger dudes that can run downhill and just maul people to death? Or do you want slimmer guys that are tall that can go out there and run on your outside zone and actually get out in front of people and stop with the holding because they have slow feet? Got to figure that out. That's the number one thing. And then once you go from there, then like I said, then you recruit towards that. I don't know what he's going to choose. I'm hoping that's even something in his mind instead of I just want offensive lineman that can run whatever scheme I want to run at whatever time, because that's not going to work. If that's what is going to happen, this team we'll win more games because the talent will be a little bit better and these guys will have more, reps. But you're not winning a national championship if that is the case. I need him to sit down and figure out what type of run team this is going to be for next year.
Yeah, my dad told me as a kid, like, if everything is important, then nothing is important. And sometimes that's what it feels like with Sark's offensive scheme. Like, it's like we're trying to major in too many things. And again, this is no shot at anybody who likes his restaurant, but like you go to like a Chili's and they can do all sorts of different types of things and they're all good, right? They're all good. But if I want something that's going to be elite at what it is, I'm not going to Chili's, right? Because Chili's they're going too wide, right? If I really want a well-cooked steak, I'm going to go to a place that specializes in steak. If I want a really good plate of enchiladas, I'm going to go to a place that specializes in Mexican food, right? And that to me is some of what the issue is with the roster construction. I think you're absolutely right. Like, Texas is trying to do too much. And I think they fell in love with the big humans of it all and didn't really think about what athletic profiles we need at the offensive line to run the scheme that we want to. And I think that to me kind of goes into my second point as well, is I think Texas really, and the offensive, the offensive staff, I think specifically, really needs to mold themselves to the players rather than expect the players to mold to them, right? We saw it early in the season and we said it on the live streams and on the post games. Like, it looks like Steve Sarkisian for a lot of the season was trying to make the offense what it should be, right? What he felt like it should be. A lot of these slow developing plays, putting Arch under center and all of those types of things. And it sucked, like, period, end of sentence. We saw Arch struggle. He got rattled. He even talked about it, right? And then when they got into a scheme and they started scheming up more things that complement the players that they have, that complement the personnel that they have, they shifted things to get the ball out of Arch's hands faster to compensate for the offensive line deficiencies. They really allowed Arch to get in a rhythm and play more fast-paced and hurry up and use his feet more. You saw Arch's growth happen when they did those things. When you meet your players where they're at, instead of expecting them to meet you where you're at as an offensive play caller, that's when you get the most out of your team. That's when you get the most out of your elite players. And that's when we see Arch Manning cracking off these big runs. That's when we see Arch Manning really getting creative and using his feet to set up the pass and really keeping defenses honest with those feet, right? All of those things happen because Steve Sarkisian finally, I think, got out of his own head and said, hey, what is Arch good at? What are we good at as a team? And how am I going to draw that up on Saturdays?
No, completely agree. I think we've been saying it for 2 months now, basically. 11 personnel, up tempo, get the ball out of hands quickly. If you want to take a deep shot once in a while, fine. Nothing under center, all out of pistol and shotgun. He finally realized that basically last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. It went slowly, and I understand it takes a while to break away from what you want to do. But to me, I want to win. I don't care what it looks like. Like, people, that's the thing. People have been talking about Oklahoma, and yeah, it looks terrible. Guess what? Those guys are 10-2, and they're going to get to host a playoff game. So I'd much rather it look like crap, but it works because of the personnel you have, then, hey, I'm going to force it. And it may look pretty sometimes, but we're not going to make the playoff. That's the sort of thing I just don't understand. So completely agree with that one. For me, it's either getting a boom or like just a great wide receiver or a great running back. I need one of the two. I need the best guy out of the portal at one of those two positions. That's how I feel. I don't need both. I don't need you to go get Cam Coleman and whoever the best running back is, but you got to give me one of the two because we have to be just great at one of those two positions, in my opinion, in college football. I think there's going to be more wide receivers for you to do that, so I think that's easier, but I'm going to be honest, if your scheme truly is going to be 12 personnel and whatever running scheme you finally decide, this is what we're going to do, then I'd rather go with the running back. So I think especially in Sark's scheme, when the running game gets going, that's when you can exploit all the levels of the field when you have a talented quarterback like Arch Manning. So I would rather go that way, but I'm fine if we go out and get someone like who just jumped in the portal today and said, and this was one of the names I floated out there, Nick Marsh is in the portal. That dude's a number one bona fide wide receiver. If you put him on Texas next year, he's probably going to have 900 to 1,000 yards. His freshman year at Michigan State, when that team wasn't good, he had like 700 yards receiving. He's a very good wide receiver. He'll probably be a first or second round draft pick when he comes out, but you have to get a haymaker at one of those two positions, whether that's wide receiver or running back, in my opinion.
I think it's huge. Yeah. And I've stated my case about the running back, and I feel less convicted about the running back because we've seen what Trey Wisner can do behind a good offensive line. So I think I had wide receiver one as one of the things on my list, right? Texas needs a bona fide wide receiver one. They need a dude, and they need a dude that folks have to scheme around, right? It's not, and Ryan Wingo is an incredible weapon. And don't get me wrong, like Ryan Wingo's had some incredible plays, but I don't think he's a guy who, he's not a gravitational guy. He's not a Cam Coleman, right? He's not a guy who folks like, if we don't cover him, things are going to go poorly for us. I love DeAndre Moore. DeAndre Moore is tailor-made to be a more talented Jordan Whittington, which is really weird to say because Jordan Whittington was one of the highest touted kids out of the state of Texas, but those injuries slowed him down a bit, right? So he's a guy who maybe, let me say, who Jordan Whittington could have been pre-multiple season-ending injuries. Right? Like that's what DeAndre Moore really can grow into. But they don't have a dude who's a wide receiver one. Emmett Mosley has showed some flashes of it this year, but I don't know if he has the top-end speed to do that, right? I don't know if he's going to be that guy. So I'm with you. They need a bona fide wide receiver one in this on this team next year to really maximize what Arch can do. If you really want to be able to show off Arch's big arm, you need a guy who folks have to cover over the top, right? That's the only way to do it.
And my last one is penalties. So guys, we ranked 127th in penalty yards out of, I think there's 134 Division I teams. So either way, you're in the bottom 10 of college football in penalty yards. Can't happen. I'll do this for the next episode and just let you guys know. I guarantee when I go and look at the last 10 national championship winners, none of them were in the bottom 10. I bet none of them were in the hundreds. They were probably at worst in the 70s. I bet that's the worst one you could find because you can't be a statistical outlier and win a national championship in penalty yards. It's not going to happen. You're going to shoot yourself in the foot way too often. And unless, I'm going to be interested when I look this up, I wonder what 2019 LSU is. That's like the only team I can think of the past 10 years that, we shot ourselves in the foot a lot, but guess what? We had Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. We can do that. Texas does not have that. So Texas cannot overcome being 127th in penalty yards. That has to stop. I was surprised. I looked up red zone. Red zone is 64th. That can literally stay the exact same. If we are the 64th best red zone offense next year and we bring down the penalties to, the 64th best, this team can win a national championship. Until then, this team isn't winning a national championship. You have to get much better at that.
Yeah, and that goes really hand in hand with my last one as well. It's like just mental toughness, right? I don't know how you quantify that, but when you look at penalties or you look at how Texas does not respond to penalty or to make those negative plays, there are teams that we watched it, I think, over the weekend where there were teams that had a massive holding penalty, put them back, and they still converted a first down, or they had a false start that put them at a 1st and 15, and they were still able to convert on a first down, right? It feels like the moment Texas has a negative on a drive, it's cashed, right? You can just chalk it up as a punt, right? Texas will be rolling on a drive, false start, drive's over. Keep rolling on a drive, have a holding call. drives over, right? Like Texas's ability to overcome those things. And we saw some of that this year with them being able to win those overtime games, with them being able to hold off Vanderbilt, but like being mentally tough enough to like overcome those things in the moment. And I think also some of that is also some of the mental toughness there is also like bad teams. Like that's the weird thing about this Texas squad. It's like they show up for the good teams. Like, do they have the mental fortitude to be locked in when it is Vanderbilt? Or not Vanderbilt's a bad example, right? When it is Mississippi State, when it is Kentucky, right? Because I feel like there's a bit of lackadaisicalness when they play those lower tier teams. The games that I worry about the most. Florida, a team that won 4 games this year. The reason why Texas isn't in the college football playoff is because they lost to a bad team because they weren't locked in and they didn't beat a team like Florida, right? So are you mentally tough enough to show up week in and week out when it's not a college game day game, when it's not a rivalry, when it's not all those things? That to me is mental toughness.
100%. I completely agree with that. And it's something where, it's when that does happen, it's always the quarterback for whatever reason that has to bail us out. There's never really a wide receiver where we flip it out there, he bails us out, or running back hasn't been able to bail us out. I think the biggest case in the point of that is, Arizona State in the bowl game. Kelvin Banks, false start. And then Quinn Ewers has to make a call at the line of scrimmage and then bail you out on that with a good throw as well. So Arch does that sometimes. But other than that, we need someone else. If you're going to have that mental toughness from the quarterback, you're going to have the mental toughness from a couple other guys on that team that have to overcome, because it always seems like the quarterback is the one that has to bail out the Texas offense when it goes bad, which is a recipe for disaster because, again, the quarterback has enough on their plate. They can't do everything. You can't get a bunch of false starts and expect them to pull you along and out of it. So I completely agree with that. Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. This is the 80th edition of Texas Longhorns Live. We really appreciate you guys being here. We'll jump into your comments real quick because we did get one more. You think Lockett, French will see the field in the bowl game? I do believe you'll see Lockett. I don't know about French because you haven't really seen French all year unless there's been a bunch of injuries. So I don't think you'll see much of French. I think you'll see Lockett. I think you'll see McCutcheon. I think you'll see Wingo, Livingston, Mosley, obviously. I think there's a chance, I saw this on Inside Texas today, that DeAndre Moore, I guess, is a pretty big mercenary as well when it comes to NIL. So if he gets a better offer, I could see him in the portal before the bowl game and him transferring, because I don't think he's good enough right now to go to the NFL. And I'm just going to be honest, I think he fell behind in the wide receiver room this year. Like next year, if he comes back, he's going to be wide receiver 3 or 4 on this football team. So I think he's going to transfer personally.
Yeah, it would suck. I like DeAndre Moore. He was a guy I really wanted to see take that next step this year. But yeah, I mean, that's the name of the game and it's the nature of things. So yeah, again, the transfer portal, like most of these guys that are going to transfer will be in the portal prior to whatever bowl game Texas is playing in. So ultimately we'll know in the next couple of weeks. Again, Lockett seems like the next guy up. I want to see French. Like I think he is a guy who has a ton of, I love his game. I love the way that go watch his high school tape, his body control, his fluidity. I really think he could add a lot. I think he's going to have a lot to say next year. But we just haven't seen I couldn't name off the top of my head the last time we saw Jamie French, and so I don't expect to see him in the bowl game.
I think it was the Vanderbilt game, because we had like 3 guys go down in that game. Dalen McCutcheon went down. Ryan Wingo went down with a thumb, and then I forget the other wide receiver that went down too. But then we saw French for a couple snaps. So I think that was the only game we really saw him of significance this year. Every other game was, UTSA, San Jose State, didn't really matter. So I think there's a possibility we see both those guys, but more Lockett than French for the bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
Again, guys, please hit that like button and subscribe down below. Now let's go over to this. Recruiting needs for Texas. National Signing Day is this week, guys. So we will know in a couple days whether, we have all these guys locked in. We are expecting, a decommitment here soon from Bodney Cleveland. All reports are he's going to flip to North Carolina. Texas is expected to land another defensive lineman other than him, though. So I think we're good there. But Gerald, what are your biggest recruiting needs for Texas throughout this cycle?
Yeah. If you had asked me this on like Friday, I would have said edge, but they flipped Carlton. So that feels good. I think, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I think offensive line is a big need for me. They only have one offensive lineman ranked inside the top 400. And I think the next one after that is 443. And then the one after that is like in the 1100s. So like, that's not a great group. Obviously, the top end is really incredible. You have a 5-star intern team there, but I don't necessarily love that. So I'd love to see them add another offensive lineman that's, somewhere even in the 300s would feel good. That's something that I think is a big deficiency there. Tight end, it's going to be hard because Nick Townsend was in the previous class, and Nick Townsend is rapidly rocketing himself up the not just the depth chart, but public consciousness after his play in the game over the weekend. But I think I would like to see a tight end in this class, even if it's a guy who's a depth piece, because of just how Sark wants to run this offense very clearly. And then a wide receiver. And again, that has an asterisk on it as well, because I'm still not sure where Jermaine Bishop is going to end up. Jermaine Bishop was recruited by both the defensive backs and the wide receiver coach, and I think he wants to take a shot at both. And if you've looked at Jermaine Bishop's latest highlights from the playoffs, is a weapon. And so I don't know where he's going to end up. I think he's probably got a higher upside at corner, but if he wants to play wide receiver, then, I think I take that off the list. But I think depending on where he lands, I'd love to see another wide receiver.
Yeah, so just to run through this real quick, guys. Offensive line, we have 3 currently committed. Defensive line, we have 5, but it's going to go down to 4 because Rodney Cleveland, like I said, all reports are he's going to drop out of this class. Running back, we have 1, which is crazy. Derek Cooper. Linebacker, we have 3. Wide receiver, we have 2. Cornerback, safety, we have 3. Quarterback, 1. Tight end, 1. Tight end is one of those things. I know Jack Henry's, I guess, walked for senior day. I did not know that. It's going to be interesting if you can convince him to come back, because that has happened before, I forget. But there's been a couple guys that have walked. You've convinced them to come back. I would like to beat him I would like the staff to convince him to come back, because then, guys, I'm fine with rolling around if you have Jack Endries, Nick Townsend, then you go get like a big bully at tight end in the portal that can, just there for blocking. And if those 2 guys plus your portal blocking tight end, and then honestly, Spencer Shannon can transfer. No offense, that guy, he's just been a complete bust for me. I don't know. I just don't expect much. Jordan Washington, I would like to stick around, see what if we can take a little bit more weight off him, or put some more like good weight on him instead, take a little bit of the fluff off. So that I'd be cool with riding with that room if you did go get a bully at the off or tight end position. The tight end they have now is not going to do much. He's a 3-star recruit. He's not going to come in and contribute right away. I do like him long term. I think he's got a good body type to fit in this offense, but just not right now. Defensive line, I think I'd like to get another guy or 2 in this class, and I expect him to get at least 1 more, but I would like another one even on top of that. Like you and I said for a couple months, I think this should be a heavy offensive line and defensive line class for Texas, and it's just not at the offensive line position at all. Defensive line's okay, but again, add 1 or 2 more. But offensive line, you're probably going to have to add 2 to 3 more guys in high school. Like 3 is not enough. You're losing a lot of guys to the NFL after this year, or the guys that will transfer and be graduate transfer somewhere, and guys younger that are transfer. Like Neto's not going to be on this team next year. He's going to transfer. Connor Robertson, I think, is gone. Again, this is so hard with all the eligibility rules, but I'm pretty sure he's gone. I think Cole Hudson's gone. So you're going to have to do something on that interior. None of the guys in here, to me, are going to play right away, and I don't want them to play right away. I don't want to throw John Turntine into the mix like we had to with Nick Brooks. That would be unfair to him. If you want to use him as like the jumbo package 13 personnel tight end, I'm cool with that, but I don't want to use him as a starting offensive lineman here at Texas. And I think it's going to tell you a lot, guys. If we just get 3 in this high school class, we're going heavy portal for offensive line. It's going to be 3 to 4 guys that you're going to get in the offensive line, which I'm cool with. If that's how you want to do it, I'm fine with that. I've always been of the mindset with the portal guys, I think you should get these super elite guys, skip out on the middle tier, and then get the development guys, and then go really heavy portal with certain positions, because obviously you always want the elite talent, and then the other guys, like those 3-star recruits, you can develop and they will stay in your program while the transfer portal guys play along with the elite guys. That's how I think it should be handled. So I think Texas basically did that with the offensive line class. If they do end with the 3, like if you go with the 2 lower rated guys than John Turntine, you can go get 3 guys right away that are ready to play, 2 interior guys, and then 1 guy, that can rotate from tackle or be a swing tackle if need be. So that's how I would handle
Yeah.
that personally. Quarterback, completely fine with. You got Diabell, you got KJ Lacey, you got Arch Manning. Cool with that. Not worried about it at all. I'm down to ride with that. Corner is also, you and I have said we need a transfer portal corner. I agree. But we also have, most of these guys are coming back. So this is fine to me that we only have
Yeah.
3 guys coming in recruiting wise. That's not a big deal total for safeties and corner. Those rooms are young. You're going to have most of those guys coming back, and you can just go get 1 older corner, 1 older safety, and I'm cool for next year out of the portal. So that's where I am with it. Running back is the one that concerns me, Gerald, the most, because how can you have 1 and then, like you said, you and I have been saying, I don't know if CJ Baxter is going to come back, and I don't know if you'd want him to come back at this point. Trey Wisner will come back, so you have that in the room. So you have Trey Wisner, you have CJ Baxter. I haven't seen enough from Christian Clark to be like, yeah, he's good enough to be my 3rd running back. I've seen nothing from Ricky Stewart and James Simon, so I don't even know what that looks like. So we desperately need to either land another running back in this class, or, like I said, go and get that money maker at the running back position, because I don't feel comfortable with that at all.
And you mentioned the offensive line recruiting and kind of the budgeting of that. And I think some of that is going to be at play. I think we saw this with like the Felix Ojo recruitment, like part of why, again, Texas Tech was going to push all their chips into the center of the table on it. But I also think you saw a bit of what Texas was willing to do for a guy who's a developmental guy, a high school guy who's going to need a couple of years, versus paying the elite guys that are ready to play right now. Texas, and really no team should be, but like very few organizations are going to want to have 7 figures sitting on the bench for 2 years. It's just not a smart way to do it, especially at a premium position like an offensive lineman, and looking at what Texas has this year, I'm not surprised that we're seeing less movement along the offensive line, because those elite guys have pretty high price tags on them. And where Texas is at right now, they're kind of in a spend now moment on the offensive line. We saw it last year with the interior defensive line. They're not going to have to do that again this year, thankfully. So they'll be able to reallocate some of those dollars to a couple of guys, 3 guys, offensive linemen, a really solid. And again, this is my old school mentality, right? I'm an overspend on your line kind of guy. And then you can do some more bargain shopping at the skill positions, because again, you can have an elite skill player behind crap offensive lines and they don't play well. You can have mid-tier skill players who are frankly they're usually available at a higher rate, or at a higher concentration, right? It's a supply and demand thing. It's basic economics, right? There's probably going to be a higher supply of solid running backs that you can put behind a really good offensive line. If your really good offensive line is giving them 3.5, 4 yards to run, most running backs that are worth any sort of money are going to be able to make 4 yards from an offensive line into 5 or 6, right? So like that's where I'm like, I would much rather them ride with spending a ton on the interior offensive line in the portal, not doing much more in the recruiting class. I'd love to see one more guy, but I don't think they need to break the bank for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, like Texas Tech can be a little bit different because you are in the Big 12. So Felix Oja may take 2 years at Texas to play against SEC competition, but he only may take 1 year at Texas Tech to play Big 12 competition, because there is a gigantic difference. They spend the most money in that conference, so they're ahead of the curve on everything.
Yeah, and you saw what happens. You saw Michael Fasusi at Oklahoma had to play this year and had multiple costly penalties. Colin Simmons put him in a blender on a couple of different plays, right? Like having to press a tackle into play in the SEC is not a good look.
No, it's not. And I agree. I think that's what this is going to be interesting, because I do think if you go in with 3, it's pretty clear to me that they're going to go 3 to 4 in the portal. And I think you're going to see that like in this class, like if they're not pushing for certain positions on National Signing Day and you don't see them go up by 1 or 2, you're like, man, that seems light. Guys, that just means they're going to go heavy in the portal for that position. So it's going to be interesting this year, because again, we said this has to be a heavy offensive line class because we knew what we were losing, and a couple of the guys that we know we're going to transfer out. So If it stays at 3, we know what's going to happen. It's going to be 3 to 4 portal guys. Same with defensive line. If it stays at 4, we're going to get 2 to 3 more defensive linemen because you can't ride in this class with that with the just 4 defensive line, and especially the way they like to rotate. So we'll have to see what happens. National Signing Day, I believe, is Wednesday. So this is all going to move quickly. I expect Bodney Cleveland to be out of this class in the next 24 to 48 hours. And I do expect Texas to land one more, but we'll have to see. And Malachi Lee is also there. That's also one at the offensive line position. We're still pushing for Michigan. We'll see if we're able to land him.
It'll be interesting to see. I think we might see some fireworks.
Yeah. Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We're actually going to move over to a 2027 commitment, and it is a big one. Didn't make a video on it because, guys, I'm going to be honest with you, not making a video on a guy 13 months out from when he could sign at Texas, because that video could be outdated in a month and a half when he flips somewhere else. Do we want this guy to be committed to Texas? Yes, because he is currently one of the 5 best wide receivers in the country, one of the number 1 if you look at some services, but overall 247 has him as the 4th best wide receiver. The 247 composite has him as the number 3 overall wide receiver. He's a top 25 player wherever you look. He's a 5-star recruit for 2027, Easton Royal. Gerald, what do you like about Easton Royal and his tape?
He is in this class, he's a build around kind of guy. He is an elite talent. He's got like elite track speed. Like I think he set his school record in the 100. Like he is an elite burner. He doesn't have a ton of tape on him running like a full route tree because his game is really just, hey, you are the fastest guy on the field, run past everybody. But when you see guys like that, sometimes they struggle with their hands. And I think he does a really good job of using his hands to attack the ball. And it shows because he also plays on the defensive side. And he really has a couple of interceptions, I think, on his tape as well. So like he has got good ball skills for a guy who's like this. But again, that he's a burner. He is a burner. He's a burner. He's not afraid of contact. You see him. He's able to beat a jam at the line, which I love to see at this level. Like he's really able to use his hands well in that moment as well. I really like his game. Again, it's going to be hard. He's a New Orleans, he's a Louisiana kid. So you're going to have to hold on to him for a full year, but it's a lot easier to hold on to a guy than have to flip a guy. So I'd rather be in that position for sure.
No, 100%. I'd much rather have him in the boat than pull him in from the ocean. And I think he is, I think there's an argument to be made. He's the most complete wide receiver recruit that we would have at Texas in the Sark era. Like 5'11", 185, super speedy, good with his hands. Again, like you said, needs to learn the route tree. But again, Chris Jackson, this is what you want. You want to get guys like this in your program and then develop them. That's the job that he has. And there's a lot of tools to work with here. And I think this is a guy that fits, everyone was complaining about not having that speedy guy. Guess what? This is your speedy guy if you're able to get him here. If you're able, to get him to reclassify. I've seen that thrown out there. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, then that'd be awesome to get him to the 26th class, stash him away. He's already on your roster, so you don't have to worry about it for a year and then see what happens. But this is a really, really talented football player that you were able to get away from, again, expanding the map, the state of Louisiana. And I guess there's rumors out there he's not a fan, like he didn't grow up rooting for LSU, so that is a good thing. That'll be easier to keep. But there's going to be other schools obviously interested in this kid. Ohio State will come calling at some point. Florida and John Summerall, I guarantee, will, and that new staff will be on here. Texas A&M is going to have enough money, and they're going to desperately need wide receivers because Craver and Concepcion will be gone, and that's kind of been a weakness for them. So it's going to be hard to keep this kid. He's going to end up as a 5-star. He's going to probably end up as a top 3 wide receiver in this class. Those guys don't grow on trees, and it's going to be hard to keep him for, 11, 12 months. So we'll see what happens here with him. I'm super excited we got him, and he's, a very fun player to watch on film.
Yeah.
And he fits all the needs of like what Sark wants in a wide receiver. And he's even bigger than most of those guys that, Sark has recruited to. So it's speed and size that I really like.
Yeah, and he's versatile. He can play, like they've got him not just running, running routes on the field. He's got some screens. He's got some snaps in the backfield. Like Sark talks about, especially that positionless football that they talk about a lot with guys like that. And he's a guy who you can put in some different positions, and whether he's playing in the slot, playing more outside, or you have him do some gadget stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how he fits into what Sark wants to do.
No, and you also brought up the point, like, it's big just to kick off the 27 class. Like, it's really good when you're getting these classes to start out to get like a home run hitter type guy that makes other people want to come and play with you. He's one of those guys. He's a 5-star. People look up to that big, hey, I'd like to play with that, especially at the quarterback position. So that can help you also in quarterback recruiting in 27, 28, 29. So really big guy to land as your first, big time recruitment in that class. We'll see if he sticks. I hope he does. But that's all we got on that subject for you guys. So again, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We really appreciate you guys joining us. And we are going to move over to our picks because Gerald, it is close. I am 20-18. You are 19-19. You are one game behind. We have 4 games left for this championship weekend. Let's kick it off with this. ACC championship, Duke. I can't believe I'm saying that. 7-5 Duke. By the way, I'm fine with this because I have a ticket. I have a $5 bet to win $75 on Duke to win the ACC. So I'm cool with that, even though I don't love it because I think it's stupid that they can make the playoff. But they are plus 3.5 here versus Virginia. Who are you going to take in this game, Gerald?
Can I take neither? Like, both of these teams are not good. The ACC is so bad. I think I'm gonna go Virginia. I'm sorry to your $75, but I think I gotta go UVA here. Like, Duke is they're not a good football team. Now, granted, I love the irony of Manny Diaz being able to keep Miami out of the playoff in this way. So like that feels fun, and he'll probably play with a chip on his shoulder. But I think Virginia is probably the better team, and I'm using that term very loosely here.
Give me 8-5 Duke as your ACC championship. I've been all on this team. I predicted them to go to the playoffs. I said they'd win the ACC. I said second in the ACC. I said lose to Clemson, but I still have a bet on it. And then I had Darian Mensah was a bet of mine for the Heisman because I love that guy, and I still think he's amazing. He's been great for them.
Yeah, he's good.
But that's really the only positive guy on that team. But I'm still going with them. Give me Duke plus 3.5. So we're on opposite sides there. Let's move over to the Big 12. BYU is getting 12.5 points here in a rematch with Texas Tech. Is that enough for you to take BYU?
It's not, especially with the rumors that Satake is on his way out. I think it's going to be I think Texas Tech, I was big on Texas Tech in this game before all of the Satake stuff started happening. I think now with him presumably on the way out, they've got a players meeting called, despite the fact that the CEO of Crumble Cookies is wanting to throw some money around. I'm going Texas Tech here.
I am as well. I think the Big 12 is Texas Tech and everyone else. I think you can throw BYU in a bag with everyone else, play them on a neutral field, and they're basically the same football teams. So I think Texas Tech is far superior. I think they're going to win this game. And I think if they blow out BYU has no, in my opinion, should not be in the college football playoff. I think if this is a close football game, I'm fine with them getting in. But if you get blown out twice to the same team, it should be a one-bid league. So I'm going to take Texas Tech here in the Big 12 championship game. Let's move over to the real big boy conferences. The SEC, Georgia versus Alabama. Alabama's getting 2.5 points here versus Georgia. Who are you going to take in this game, Gerald?
Even though it hurts Texas, although I think Texas probably has a close to 0 chance of making the playoff, I think Alabama losing this game would help Texas, I think, in some ways. And I think Georgia is just peaking at the right time. I think that I think they want to get this revenge game out. I think they want to get like Kirby Smart. Now that Saban is gone, Kirby Smart is the best at like the playing up the motivation for the game. And I think Georgia's going to be up for this one. And I think Georgia's going to win.
He's only beaten Alabama one time. He's only done it once. He's lost to Nick Saban. He's lost twice now to Kalen DeBoer. But I'm going to take Georgia. I'm going to feel like a dummy if it doesn't hit because what is he, like 1-8 versus Alabama at Georgia or something like that? It has not been good. And let's be honest, that 1-8 in the national championship game, if Jamison Williams and John Mechie play, I think he might have gone over versus Alabama in his career. So I'm going to take Georgia, but I don't love it. But I'll take Georgia minus 2.5.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Next up, the Big Ten, OSU versus Indiana. I can't believe I'm saying that. Indiana is plus 4.5 here. Gerald, who are you going to ride with in this game?
This one is hard. I think Ohio State is the best team in the country, but it's hard for me to bet against Sigs and this Indiana team. It is like they're like the bad news bears. Like you can't really pick a ton of their players out of a lineup. You wouldn't put, Ohio State looks versus personality, right? Ohio State is the looks, and I think Indiana is the personality in this one. My head is telling me Ohio State, but my heart is like, I think Sigs might get it done. Like, he has just been in spoiler piss and vinegar mode all year. He's just been really mean and angry. And so I think you're going to pick Ohio State. So I think for the fun of it, I'll also go Indiana that way.
You were 100% right. I am going to take Ohio State in this game. I just think Ohio State's the best football team in the country, and I think Indiana is a really good football team. Do I think they're the second best football team in the country? I do not. So I'm going to take Ohio State here -4.5. I think it's going to be like a 30-20 football game. And it could be worse than that. Like, can Indiana put up 20 points on this Ohio State defense? Illinois put up 18, but one of those touchdowns was literally in garbage time. Like, the most real amount of points in a game they've let up is like 11 points, guys, or 10 points. So can you score more than 10 if this football game's close, Indiana? I don't know.
We'll see. Again, I think Ohio State's probably the smarter pick, but there's just something about how Sigs has been moving these last 12 weeks that makes me want to go Indiana.
Hey, and it will be decided too. It'll help decide a winner between us. Even though, guess what? We're going to do bowl games. We'll throw out bowl games once in a while, but for the regular season / championship weekends, it will dictate the winner. So I'm cool with that.
I love it.
Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below and give each of us a follow on our social media platforms. We really appreciate that. If it would cooperate with me here, maybe it won't. There we go. Well, no, went away. There we go. So that is mine right there. X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Give me a follow. This is Gerald's X, Twitter, Blue Sky, as well as his Longhorn Pod, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio is where you can find that. So please give that a follow and go listen to episodes over there. We really appreciate you guys watching. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. And as always, guys, hook 'em.
Hook 'em.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.